Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry about that. We'll get back to that later. Raise your hand if you have forgotten something in the last week. Every hand here, shoot up here. What about in the last 24 hours? How about the last 5 minutes? Wouldn't it be great if we didn't forget anything ever? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Have you ever heard of photographic memory?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you about 2 primary concepts when it comes to photographic memory. The first to keep in mind is that this is not an idea that was created by Hollywood producers or by writers trying to make fantastical stories. It is a real thing. The other thing to keep in mind is that each case of photographic memory is unique and different in its own way. It has a certain intensity to it. It revolves around some certain gift. Sometimes it's being able to memorize license plates. Sometimes it's about being able to remember your spouse's birthday. Today I'm going to focus on the more intense cases of photographic memory. Situations where an individual far exceeds the typical memory that you would expect, that has very unique or exceptional abilities. Firstly though, before I get into that, who here wishes that you had perfect memory?
Oh, I do.
Okay. It would be pretty cool. You remember where the keys are, you never forget your passwords, your PIN numbers, and then you read a book and you remember every single interesting detail of it, the settings, the characters, the overarching plot. Does sound pretty good, doesn't it? Mr. Kim Peek memorized over 12,000 books during his lifetime. Not read. You could ask him any minute detail about any of those 12,000 books that he had read, and he would be able to give it to you in an instant. He had the most exceptional and astounding memory that any other human had ever had. He literally represents the most unique case of photographic memory ever documented. Just imagine the possibilities. If you didn't forget, you would always win trivia night. You'd be able to make millions on Jeopardy. And you'd be able to enthrall your friends with your endless knowledge of everything that you had memorized. But there is a flip side to photographic memory that not a lot of people consider. In an instant, someone who has an exceptional memory can be blinded by an onslaught of endless images, pictures, ideas, emotions that are just as vivid as the moment they were created in their mind originally. For example, going up to someone with an eidetic memory, as it's called, and telling them, dog. All of a sudden, their mind goes into the memory banks and brings out a perfect, clear image of every single dog that they have heard of, seen, experienced in their entire lifetime in an instant. Such a glut of information is almost impossible for anyone without that kind of memory to imagine. And imagining the strain that would put on someone's overall mind and psyche. How does the human mind parse out this information in an instant and stop someone from going completely mad? The truth is, we don't know. Human cognition, human experience, is something that we don't understand very clearly. We try to cobble together an understanding of our most evolved organ by talking about neurons and chemicals in our brain. But we have a very limited, complete picture of how things actually work. It's almost dumbfounding how far away from the overall picture we end up being. So, how about you guys? Anyone here have an exceptional memory? I'm going to test that in a second. Are you going to remember this speech in its entirety? Are you going to remember every single word, every single hand gesture? Are you going to absolutely forget this speech before I even get back to my seat? You remember that number I held up at the beginning? Can anyone say it?
85246.
Wow.
It was number.
Okay. Well, for me, I didn't even know it and I created it, so congratulations on those who remembered it. I was only there for a moment, so that's impressive. Some people are better with numbers than others. But the truth is, it's not really that important. As far as when we're talking about growth and evolution, things like that, for the sake of our own survival, being able to memorize an entire story arc or memorize random numbers isn't intrinsic to us surviving. But remembering the birth date of your significant other can save your life. Mr. Toastmaster.